So actually, it's really interesting. Fintan finished off with something saying test, test, test. And actually, the first thing I want to tell you guys is test, 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 but also measure, measure, measure. Because testing is nothing without measuring. But let me take a couple of steps back first. Hello, I'm Chewy. I'm at Google. I'm a social evangelist part of my time. I'm also in the new business development team. But my background, I was an engineer for 10 years building websites. Not front ends and design. I've got, well, you can probably tell by my dress sense, I've got no idea of design or style. But I'd plug in systems, databases, e-commerce systems, backends, things like that. Now Google occasionally let me out of my cage to come and talk to people about the social web. So yeah, baby steps. This is the most important thing. Whatever you're doing on the web, be it SEO, be it working with cloud computing that David's going to talk about later, be it social, or be it just deploying new content, it's okay to do things in little steps. And actually, it's probably better to do things in little steps. Again, a few points Fintan made. Rapid deployment is critical. Speed is a massive advantage. Get your sites into profit-making areas quickly, and treat each situation differently. These are all key. It's not good or constructive to sit around for a year planning a new part of your website or a new section or a new feature and then spending 3 months building it, because that's 15 months, by which time the web has moved on. You know, 3 years ago, most people didn't know what Facebook is. Now it's got nearly 500 million users. But let's get on with the crux of this. Google is easy. Google's become successful because it's a simple box. I have something that I call the mother baseline, which is thinking about how my mother uses the web. Like it or not, if you guys have websites, you're probably advanced internet users. You're probably more advanced than your average internet user. So it's always interesting to go back and see how my mum uses the web. She is the sort of person who starts up her browser in the morning and then types Google into the search box, which is already a Google search box, but because it doesn't look like Google, it's not Google. So then she'll click on Google and get to Google, and now she can start searching. She's also the sort of person who double-clicks links. You know, she'll click twice, and sometimes that'll work, and sometimes it won't. And until recently, when she got broadband, I got it for Christmas, she used to get up in the morning, switch her computer on, start her email downloading, have breakfast, and then come back when it had finished. As broadband penetrates more of the UK population and more of the European population, it's becoming less of an issue, and speed is something that we can handle. But you know, Google's simple because it appeals to my mum. It's a box that you can type a question into, hit go, and it gives you a range of different results. The thing is, keeping Google easy is actually quite hard. There's an awful lot of nonsense going on in the background and a lot of engineers working on different features. And actually, there is no overarching plan to Google's success. We don't, you know, sit there at the beginning of a year and say, these are the things we want to focus on. I mean, we do to some extent. Speed is always key. For example, we always want to make things faster. But in terms of the features we're going to roll out, we don't know what's going to work or what's not. At any one time, when you see a Google search result, you'll likely, there could be up to 15 different experiments running on that page. And in any year, we'll make up to 300 or 400 changes to our search results pages based on how users perform. So when I do a search here, I'm going to fall back on Old Faithful. I'm sorry it's not travel-related, but it's got some great mixes of results. Goats. There are some images that you'll see rolled in. You'll see video results. And quite often near the bottom, there's sometimes some, goat news. I don't know why goats are always in the news, but they are. The point is we're blending in these different types of information from different sources. And we're trying to deliver information that's relevant to the user. But when this stuff isn't relevant, if we see someone searching and they never click on these images, or in aggregate people never click on these images, they'll disappear. So it's important that you guys are prepared to experiment too. Try stuff out, but don't be afraid if it fails. If something doesn't work, that's all right. Just kill it and move on. Try the next thing. So what does social mean then within Google? Well, there's a few features. This is one, I guess, that's near and dear to our hearts at the moment, volcanic ash. There is a feature we've recently launched called Latest. And in fact, you'll see it in search. When you do a search, if you click on Latest, we'll give you results in real time as they're happening. Now, I'm going to try it now, volcanic ash. And it's probably not going to have any real-time results, because that's the joy of a live demo. No, there aren't any. Brilliant. OK, well, let me try Google Hot Trends. and just pick one at random. Let's go with Emirates flight. That seems vaguely related. And hopefully there should be some, there we go, real-time results here. Now you may have just seen this scrolling. I'll leave it there for a few seconds while I'm talking, but what we're doing now is looking at sources like Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, blogs, and news sites, and we're actually rolling those results into search as what we call real-time search or latest results. So the stuff that people are talking about right now, hot topics, stuff that's trending, they're being featured. And if you click through to these pages, we've also introduced a feature called top links. Now, how many people have got a Facebook account? Hopefully, yeah, most of you, I'm thinking. How many people with Twitter? Thank you for the lights. Okay, again, a fair old few. Some of you, or maybe all of you who have a Twitter account, will at one time or another have had a link sent to you by a friend with very little other information than the link itself. You know, it'll just be like, hey, this is cool, click on it, and then a bit.ly link or a goodly link, and you don't really know where it's going, but because it's from a friend, you click on it anyway. And it's not until you get there we go, a bit of scrolling, it's not until you get there that you actually know what you're going to get, but because it's from a friend, you trust it. And so recommendations from friends become more and more important, and what we're doing is starting to aggregate these bits of information together. And you can see that what we'll do is look at things like Twitter, like Facebook, like the news sites, and those articles which are linked the most will feature in the top links section to the right. Now, what that means is you guys need to make it easy for people to share your content. And we're going to have a look at some ways of doing that in a minute. There's another feature, which is social search. Now, this is something where if you have a Google profile set up, you can link different accounts. So you can link your Twitter, you can link your Facebook, you can link your blog, you can link your website, and so on. And we'll look at your friends on those services, and we'll actually return results from people linked on your profile directly into your search results. Again, because recommendations from friends, recommendations from people you know, are sometimes more useful. And you're able to use your knowledge of those people to filter that information. If I do a search on Android, which is our phone operating system, now hopefully, there we go, this guy is a chap called Rito Meyer. He works at Google, and he is our Android advocate. He knows everything there is to know about Android. So when I'm doing a search and I see his smiling face appear in my social results and it's related to mobile phones, I'm clicking that because I know he knows what he's talking about. And we're seeing this being introduced into more and more searches as well. So we're really trying to put social in front of as many people as possible, even if they're not using Twitter, even if they're not using Facebook. Again, going back to my mum, she's on Facebook, but she doesn't really have any friends on it. She doesn't really leave any status updates, although occasionally she thinks that commenting on a picture is the same as sending me an email. Did you see my comment on your picture? No, mother, I didn't. Well, I left a message and you never replied. The point is people are communicating in different ways, so we need to present it to them and help them find this rich content on the web as easily as possible. There's also something called Google Buzz. If you haven't heard of Google Buzz, don't worry too much. But it's just essentially a way to try and aggregate all your feeds together and put them in an easy place to find. Each of these little speech bubbles that you're seeing here, this is a buzz. This is when someone's got their phone out or got their computer out and they're talking about something in much the same way as Twitter or Facebook messages. But because we know, and because a lot of buzzing is being done from the phone, we know where you are when you leave that buzz. And it can be anonymous if you want, but the point is people are starting to then aggregate information in geolocation, so relevant to the locale. A real-world example of this, I was going home on the bus the other day. I live up in Holloway Road, right near the Arsenal Stadium, and I'm probably the worst Englishman in the world. I can't stand football. But I'm going up Holloway Road and it's log-jammed. It's a Tuesday night and I can't work out why the traffic isn't moving. So I pulled out my phone and I had a look, and there were a whole cluster of little bubbles around the Arsenal Stadium, talking about a match they were having with, I don't know, someone or other for the championship that night. And that was why the traffic was backed up. So I got out and walked, and I got home more quickly than the bus. But being able to use this information, having people, ready to leave messages on their phones when they're doing something. They might be having a great meal, or they might have seen a great film, or they might have just got a nice coffee, or it might be a beautiful day, or they've seen something cool to do in a town they've never visited before. We're going to start relying on this more and more for real-time information, because these are relevant for maybe a day or two, and then they die off. So we're seeing this kind of constantly shifting arrangement of information sitting on top of a map.